Drop the gun! Show me your hands!
Welcome to the Weekly Homicide Report, the weekly program where we talk about all the people that needlessly died at the hands of another person. Now let's take a look at this week's graph. Okay, so I did a little research on the internet and found alternate sources for some of this data. So some of the numbers are going to jump up quite a bit. I had been using the Chicago Sun-Times because often the newspapers have more accurate info than other sources, but the Chicago City website actually shows a higher number of homicides this year. The Chicago Sun-Times is showing 538 and the Chicago PD shows 562, so we'll go with the police data. The Philly data is still the same source, as I've been using the police data all along, but they show only one homicide this week, which is likely not accurate. For New York City, I switched sources and the number jumped from 311 up to 342. The Houston site that I've been using has always been in question, and I don't think it's accurate, but it's the only one I can find, and it's showing 6 homicides this week and 313 on the year for Houston. The DC site I'm using is still the same, the police site, and has the city at a 20-year high for murders, and it's not even December yet. I had been using the Baltimore Sun newspaper data, which shows 239 homicides. That site gives a lot of useful information, but when I looked at the City of Baltimore website, the data shows only 230. So I'm going to stick with the newspaper for now, as that number is showing more homicides, and I believe that the newspapers in general would have the more honest numbers. They'd have no reason to hide them as much as the police data would. And I'm swapping out New Orleans for Dallas this week. I had followed Dallas earlier this year, but the data didn't seem accurate, but looks to be more on track now. So Dallas sits at 182 on the year. And so now for some more murder rates. And again, these are using 2023 data, so these numbers should be as accurate as you'll find right now. And if you remember from the first time I did these, Chicago's murder rate is 22.3. And 3 of these cities have a murder rate worse than Chicago. Try to guess which 3 and see if you can guess the one with the worst. One of them actually surprised me. So Omaha is the largest of these cities and has the best murder rate. Billings is the smallest and has the 3rd best murder rate of these 7 cities. Cleveland, Hartford, and Little Rock all have murder rates higher than Chicago. And Hartford is the one that was a bit surprising to me. I didn't realize they were that bad. Of these cities, all have declining populations except Billings, which is rising, although Lexington and Little Rock are only slightly declining. And anything around 10 would be considered regular city bad. So Omaha at 5.4 would be considered very good, and Little Rock and Hartford are very high, and Cleveland is up there with some of the worst in the country. Well, that's all I have for you today, but I'll be back next week with the week 48 numbers. Till then, have a great week, and I'll catch you next week. This is a weekly video, so if you like this type of content, hit that like button, leave your thoughts in the comments, and consider subscribing. And I'll catch you next week.